Alright, I'm going to go through these cuts real quick here. The biggest thing is just if you have something less than a 90-degree angle, you don't want to meet those cuts right at that corner there. So what I'll do is I'll find something, let's say it's a branch or what have you, I'll make sure I cut those lines first, and then as I'm cutting the background stuff, I'll just come right up to it, ease that cut to nothing, and then once you tool it, you won't even see that. Come real close. But then anytime you got something like a 90-degree or more, I'll make one cut and then come from that cut. And then since we're getting closer and closer to where it's sitting on the ground, I'm cutting that line deep, but it gets shallow real quick to the point where it's just a scratch when it meets where the ground is. And I'll do this one a little more drastic to show you here. Real deep, and then just quickly gets shallow. But don't go that deep. Background, so that one's all deep. Now these foreground lines, and you'll see in this booklet here, it even tells you the depth of the cuts right here too. Oh, yeah. These ones, we're not going to tool at all, so just make sure barely scratching these ones in. So same with this window here. Press down where it falls back a little bit more, and it gets real shallow up to the corner, and then just flatten it out and create that little bit, just enough angle so that it tricks our minds into seeing that three-dimensional shape. The couch has a couple other lines that are a prominent green corner, and then they kind of fade around into a back bevel. Like this line here, that's a front corner, so we're not going to bevel it, and it's green like in the book. And then as soon as it gets to about here, that background surface falls back behind that line, so I go just a little bit deeper. So once you kind of define where that stop is, then you're going to smooth this halo out. But instead of just smoothing it out following the line on the couch here, you think about this side of the couch. So I'll kind of define that line too a little bit. So I'm going to be coming across to match that so that that roll appears to be coming from this side instead of just from that line where we beveled. If done correctly, it looks like that couch is flowing pretty well. This whole surface will be matted down flat like when we did the boxes. And then this one, instead of trying to make it look flat, I'll tuck that corner down and barely touch that halo just to give that piece that roundness.
Do that the whole length of it? Or?
Yep, and then once that's flattened down, it'll really come out prominent, like it's an extra little cushion wrapping around that whole edge.
Okay.
All right.
All right. So like in the picture there, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, okay, well that green line's about right here. Now I'm not going to bevel back on the top, just like we did that one other box. We didn't bevel the top of it at all. I'm just going to first pick out these double bevels, and I'm going to use my pointed modeling spoon again. And once you define that, work a double bevel in there a little bit, and then you can see on the pictures, like with this one, or this one, where that blue shaded, it's going to be back beveled behind this root. And I'll just slowly start picking this stuff out. Now we can add a little bit more detail. So what I would do is pick out where you can see this bump right here, like I was saying a couple minutes ago. Go around that one just a little bit, and it kind of pulls that knot out. I'll be beveling pretty deep because that sky can be back as far as we can get it. There's no other details we got to work in. But as soon as I get to the arm or those legs, I ease up quite a bit. Go real shallow. That way I can just fade that bevel out onto their arms, onto his arms and things, so it looks nice and flat. Then I still got tons of resources to slam down on either side and in the background. So what I like to do, again, I mentioned it before, is that side of his thumb is going to be dropped back behind there. I'll just go around these edges. The other side of his thumb is a double bevel, but I'll still just bevel around all these fingers. And then even it out. And as I'm evening this out to fade that halo, so that side of the finger needs to be up high. But this side of the thumb is like a double bevel, so I'll just tap that down like with them tree roots so that it meets that double bevel line. And the same with this side of the finger. Create that side by meeting that double bevel. And then this one too. I'll start to grab parts that need to be cleaned up. You know, some of these wrinkles on the sleeve, I'll grab something pointed and just kind of create some more of those lines, clean up some of those marks. And then, like with his little sleeve here, it drops back around behind his hand so it doesn't take a... So you can see what I did with the one arm here. Right next to it I beveled, and then I brought that bevel out so that it fades all to this line right here, coming all the way down his torso.
Okay.
So that it forms that boxy section of his torso. What I'll do is just take the point of this to create that double bevel real quick.
I'm done.
All right. I separate each one of these shingles and pick it up and move it, holding that line. Pick it up, set it into the next shingle, then it gets that step real nice. And then once I get that, we got a double bevel here. So I think I'll just do modeling spoon. You can use a beveler or something if you want. I like to use the point like I did with those tree roots. Just right in there, instant double bevel. Smooth that out across the shingles. We want that to appear to be flat. You can see that the doorway from this side, that's a double bevel. And once it gets to about here, it reverses into like a back bevel there. And the same here on this side, that's a back bevel. It's going to drop back behind there. And as soon as it gets up towards the top, then that's going to turn into a double bevel. Double both sides of
I had a
that.
tinier point.
Yeah. Behind this hill a little bit, so I'll add that line in here. And then one of them kind of is popping up on the hill here. And just slowly adding them in. And a couple will pop up just a little bit over that ridge. Just kind of overlapping little circles, oblong circles. And that's that. And then the fire itself, just kind of create a couple little different facets. And this bottom will be a very slight double bevel, even it up onto the flames. And then distinguish the edges. It doesn't take a whole lot. And by not cutting, it keeps that fluidity to it.
Nice.
Anytime you're looking at something, if you have your pointed beveler pointing towards you, then anytime you make a line, it naturally has that drop off and bevel back, because that's how you would see it in real life. If I came from this angle, it wouldn't be realistic. So what I do is I grab it from this angle and I just keep flowing around that corner. I grab the edge and just keep adding lines, hitting that edge. And then it gives the impression of that waterfall dropping off. And water isn't just super uniform either. Some of these lines can be a little weird. Maybe there's a rock under there or something. It doesn't take a whole lot just by grabbing that and pulling it. Like I said earlier, don't fade that bevel off that across that mist because it's raising up so quickly. What I do is I grab that figure beveler and we leave this halo there because that mist is rising up as that water is hitting and colliding. I'll just grab these different little bubbles and things, mist clouds I should say, and just start separating them. That's almost too defined. Well, maybe not, that ain't bad. Sometimes I'll go back across it and kill some of the definition with the modeling spoon. Let's say you're making some waves. If you go halfway back in your picture, at that point the waves will be half the size. Then you cut that section in half, and that'll be half the size of the previous waves, and so on. And the more you go back, the less of a point they'll be. They'll start to flatten out too visually. And to depict a wave, if you have a figure beveler, it's actually pretty easy. That's a flat, so I'll just tip up where that point of the wave will be, and then tip it into where the point would be. So it's deeper right at that point of the wave, and then tip it from the other side. And that natural curve of that figure beveler makes a pointed wave. Now the real big ones that are up close, I'll tap it and bring it out and fade it out just a little bit so that it looks a little bit larger. And if you want to get real complicated, when you're up close especially, you'll have a real big wave. And then in that wave and in between waves, you'll have more little waves all over the place, especially in real choppy water. But the most important thing being that halves rule. Make sure your waves get smaller and less defined as you go back.
And the mist comes up to where his hands are covered.
Yep, yep. And you could even bring that mist a little further back so it looks like he's more standing in it. It looks like that rock comes out and then comes back into a double bevel here, so I'll just do something like that. That little section looks like it'll fade back. And maybe I'll leave that chunk like that. You know, rocks are pretty random like roots. You can kind of be sloppy. Sometimes it turns out better. This whole facet looks like it's kind of like a shelf right there. So we'll do something like that. Maybe round that off a little bit. Once I fade that bevel enough so they look relatively flat, I will separate the different sections here, and you can see like this one kind of drops back. So does that one. And it's got like those prominent edges to them. Once you kind of define that stuff, get the different facets in there. Then I would just heavy bevel around the whole thing. That whole skyline I'm going to smash down pretty dang flat.
Yeah, you backgrounded it here.
Yeah. And this one, because I didn't have anything behind it, you can see the border started to pop up a little bit around that section because it was compressed so much.
Yep, yep.
But if you do that foam trick I was telling you about, put that behind there, you can depress it more than that even, and you won't get any of that stretch and flaying out.
Yep.
Cool?
Good.
Play ball.